My name is Clifton Percy-Campbell from Bloomfield, Connecticut originally, but moved around a little bit. What do I do? It's a good question. I do a number of things. I mean, I design, I make clothes. Here and there, I'll do a little bit of modeling, underwrite, jack of all trades, I guess. Do too many things at once. Yeah.
So out of all of those, which would you say is your favorite?
I would say the designing, right, and the modeling. I think those are two of the things that allow me to be more expressive. The modeling as well, you get to meet a lot of cool people and you put in situations that maybe I wouldn't have otherwise been. And then yeah, the designing is fun, man. Like, I get to make what I want to make, how I want to make it, right? So whatever that vision looks like, it gives me that creativity to do what I want to do.
So what first sparked your interest in fashion, design, all of those?
I would say my brother is a huge inspiration, right? So 10, 12 years ago, he moved out to New York City, which like I feel like is the mecca, right, for the fashion stuff. And I got to tag along with him and watch him do a lot of really, really cool things. And he kind of got into the clothing, the designing, the just messing around, and it was really, really fun doing those things with him. Doing a little bit messing around with myself with the sewing, I kind of got hooked and I enjoyed it, so I think I went from there, right?
Is there like a specific piece that you look back on that you're the most proud of?
All of them. I think that like every time I do a garment, I feel like I get better at my craft, right? Like, so I look at each garment almost as like a timestamp in what I'm doing, where I'm at, how I've come far. Like from my first garment that I probably sewed when I was 16, 17 in high school compared to the last jacket that I made right at the end of 2024, like I'm proud of all of them, and they've all been my favorites because they've helped show me the progression. It's funny, like a lot of the times when I make a garment, if it's for somebody else, by the end of it, I'm like, damn, I need this for myself. but that's the fun in it, right? I get attached to them because all of them are awesome. I feel like I see myself getting better in real time, so it makes it fun.
So what would you say has changed like in your approach in designing over the years?
I would say the detail. I think I spend a lot more time on the little things like that maybe most people wouldn't even notice, but I get so nitpicky. Like as opposed to just making like a hoodie, right, or a jacket or any type of garment and just doing it, I focus more on the fit, how it's actually constructed, the materials that I'm using. So from just doing it to make it because it's fun to making it fun, but also along the way, like making everything exactly how I want to do it, like down to the stitch. I think that's the best part of like doing all the sewing for me, right? Is like I see every single detail that goes into it. Most people will never probably even notice half of those things, but I think that process of perfecting the fit, the garment, or the fit, the fabric, and all of those things that make the piece, I think has evolved over the time.
What's the most challenging part about everything?
To bounce probably off of what I said, like the last question, the hardest part sometimes is knowing when to like stop and knowing when to like step away, right? I feel like as you do things, you get better at them. So by the time you maybe finish one piece and you move on to the next thing of that same garment, and you go back to look at it like, fuck, like, I can do that better. So that to me, I think is one of the hardest things. Yeah, just knowing when enough is enough and just to move on to the next thing and like call it complete.
Is there a piece that you've designed that has like a hidden story to it that nobody else knows?
That's a great question. Maybe not. Yes, I would say there's a suit that I made for a show that I did once, and there were two things on them. So it was a pair of pants and it was a jacket. They kind of went hand in hand. On the pant, it was a flower, what looked like a flower, but it was a cotton plant. And on the jacket, it said, "Who invented the cotton gin?" And it was really revolved around the idea of like, there's a lot, I feel like, of Black history that's not really spoken about, right, when it comes to everything. Like, clothing is a huge aspect, right? Everybody, all the time, they wear clothes. And when you look at, like, really get into it, like, a cotton gin is really one of the most influential things in just, like, the production of clothing. Like, it's literally what makes cotton, right? It's what picks the cotton on the plant apart and helps make it the fine, soft, woven cotton that we know now, right? And there's a history behind that, and that was a black slave who invented those. That most people don't probably know that, right? So having done a little bit of research just into the, I guess one of like the most important things in the fashion industry, that, right? Like that story, understanding like where that comes from and what that means. So to me, that cotton plant on the pant and that saying kind of embodied that, right? It's kind of a question of who. People think that it was one person, I forget his name, but in reality it was a black woman who created this idea of the cotton gin, right? Using a comb to comb through the actual plant to get the seeds out and fluff the fabric out, fluff the cotton out so it actually can be woven into the cotton that we know and use on our clothes. So that for sure.
If you look back at your entire body of work, would you say there's a theme?
I think overall the theme is like work in progress, right? I'm a huge believer that all of us are works in progress. We continue to grow and evolve, and we may not have everything figured out, right? I feel like most people are building shit as they fly. So that probably is the hierarchy of my themes, but I evolve, right? Like the things that I was interested in maybe 3-4 years ago, I don't really love now, or they're just not my interest anymore, right? So I think I am at a point where it constantly changes. So overall, the goal and I think theme is like work in progress. Like this is where we started. Let's show what we're doing. Let's show the process as we fly, right? But yeah, it's evolving for sure.
How important is it for you to create fashion that's like fully authentic to you rather than like following trends?
I think 100%, right? Like to me, that's the fun part of being a creator is you get to do what you want to do, right? I also like believe, right? Like there's nothing necessarily new under the sun. It's just about you maybe take something that you see and you put your own point of view on it, which also makes it fun, right? That's what kind of makes it yours. But I think when you follow a trend, like it's just that you don't really care about it because somebody else cares about it, right? That's somebody else's thing that they created that they were passionate about, and you're just doing it because maybe the masses are doing it, right? So it's like, do you really care about that, or you're just doing that because that's what you see everybody else doing? To me, I don't know that that's creativity, more of like the bandwagon or just like this is popping right now, let me jump on this to make this happen so we can do what we have to do. Yeah.
Do you ever face burnout?
Definitely. The clothing is fun, right? Like, but with anything, like doing too much of it, I feel like at one point will cause you to be like, I don't know, like I don't even know if I fuck with this anymore, just because you're doing so much at once, right? Or like with anything, you can just become frustrated, especially, I'm sure you've experienced this yourself, right? Like the little things sometimes that usually should just go so smoothly will end up making one project that could have been an hour, 3.5 hours. These little things, it's just like sometimes you have to take that step back and not break something, right? So I think it definitely happens to me, right?
So how do you work through that?
I think pivot. So for me, like if it's not, I don't feel like I need to be tethered to making clothes all the time, right? So I'm comfortable with sometimes taking a break from that. I think I did that kind of heavily last year. 2024, I didn't get the chance to make as much clothing as I would love to and just dive as deep into that bag as I would like to. And I just focused on other things that are important in life, right? And if you really love it and you're true to it, I think you'll always come back to it. And I've done that. I think when that happens, if you really care about it, you come back even more excited. So,
if you had to envision like your ultimate legacy as a designer, what would you want people to remember you by through your pieces?
That's an excellent question. I don't know, man. I think it probably would be like the idea of like it's a craft, right? I feel like I would consider myself maybe an artisan. Like I just enjoy what I do, and it's so small and close knit that I want people to kind of understand like there is a danger in the detail for me, right? Like it's easy to overlook a lot of things and not really focus on like all of these little things that really are happening. So I kind of feel like if anything, it's like the little details that maybe you look at a garment 3, 4, 5 times, you don't really even see it, but enough time, you're like, damn, this is actually interesting. And then you feel the fabric, or you see how it wears, and you see these little things that initially they weren't important at all to you, right? But to me, it's like that was the main focus, and at some point you see that. I would say that just being known for like being an artisan, caring about the small little details that maybe nobody else cares about, those are the things that I love. So if over time, I think that's what I want to be known for, is like the detail.
A lot of artists do talk about their craft as like a form of therapy. Would you agree with that?
100%. I think that's a huge reason that, from seeing my brother doing it to starting it, I continued and kind of went down the rabbit hole that I did because I enjoyed it so much, right? Like, I remember the first thing that I did was hand sew a patch onto a pair of jeans, and I was like, damn, this was fun. Like, I enjoyed it. Like, I like to work with my hands. I like to go from a thought to a product, and it's the process that was really, really fun. But throughout that, seeing that always brought me joy, right? Like, I really, really enjoyed that process. So to me, that was therapy. But on the other end, right, like with anything, sometimes you gotta just, it can be the opposite of therapeutic. But overall, I would say definitely, it's calming for sure.
Do you have any inspirations for your art? I know you said your brother was one of them.
Yeah, he was a huge inspiration to like get started, and I think now I'm inspired by like the people around me, the things that I see, and even understanding the history of certain things, right? Like there's history being made every single day, right? And I'm a huge believer in like, you don't know where you're going if you don't know where you come from. So understanding a little bit of like the roots of who I am, who my people are, who the people around me are. I really, really enjoy that, telling that, like seeing other people's story, and how, whether it's affected my life or the people around me's life. I think that that's a huge inspiration. And then obviously, like, I don't know, seeing other people, everybody has their own style, how they put their clothes on or how they express themselves with their clothing as well, is a huge inspiration. Like walking around every single day watching people, like that's the first thing you see about somebody, right? That's the first story being told in your head. It's like, oh, this is what they're rocking, right? Like, this is tough. So I get inspired by that as well.
How would you measure success with your art?
I feel like success to me is like similar to what I told you before, is when I'm done with a piece, especially if it's maybe for somebody else, when I'm done with it, I look at it and I'm like, damn, I don't want to give this away, right? Like, I love this so much. So it's that feeling of knowing like I made something and I don't want to have to give this up, right? Like, I get so attached to them. So that to me is success every time, right? Like if I have and I get that feeling, which I do most of the time, like I feel good. And success also is like, honestly, no, I would leave it at that. Like getting that feeling of like, damn, I love this.
For someone who would just be starting out as a designer, do you have any advice?
I would say as soon as you have a concept, an idea, a thought, just do it, act on it. I think it's easy to be a thinker and not a doer. I've caught myself doing that plenty of times. So I think that that's the main piece of advice. Do, right? Like, not everything's gonna be a success, but the more things that you create and you put out into the world, the higher likelihood of you, one, figuring out what your style is, what you care about, what you enjoy to make, as well as like you hone in on your craft more, right? The more you do something, they say repetition is the father of learning. So doing something, continue to do it as many times. Whenever you have that initial thought, just do it, make it happen, and then go from there. I think that's the main thing. Don't even think about it, just do it.